Hello everyone, welcome back to another interesting video. Today we are going to see how to query a structured data table using natural language. And for that, we are going to analyze Tapas, which is a weakly supervised table parsing algorithm, which was recently open sourced by Google for the AI community. So querying tables using natural language has always raised curiosity among multiple players. And there have been a lot of vendors who have tried to implement it in the past, like Tableau, IBM Watson, and Microsoft's Power BI, Pegasystems, and also by many other startups. So they have always tried to query a table using natural language. So we'll see a quick demo of how the current systems work so that we will see how Tapas overcomes those challenges. On my screen, you see demo of a natural language querying in Tableau. The user is typing in a free text whatever query they have in their mind in the natural language, and the system converts it into a logical form that would be understood by the system, and accordingly user can also edit if there are any changes that are needed, and based on the edit you can see the metrics and the graphs getting changed. Let's dig a little deeper to understand how this conversion happens in the backend. Say for example, the user question is like which player in World Cup table has three goals. So now the system is able to find that player is the target column, World Cup is the table, and the filter condition that needs to be applied is three goals. Right? So this is a conversion into logical form. So then this logical form gets converted into any querying language, be it SQL or based on the database used, any language. So here in SQL, you can see the query as select player from World Cup where goals equal to 3. So what's the issue with this approach? First thing, the amount of data. So for training, we need huge amount of data. And for enterprise table or database, we will not have multiple tables with the same columns repeating or multiple tables in different databases that you can use for the training. And the second issue is usage of keywords. If we take the example here, we have given like World Cup table. Say if the user says he wants to know about World Soccer Tournament, the system will not be able to understand that World Soccer and World Cup are the same. Similarly, like in say you have a employee ID and you have a emp ID, system will not know that employee ID and emp ID are the same. So this traditional approach works only for specific tables, and you cannot generalize it across the tables, and you need to build unique solutions for each table that you want to build. Tapas, on the other hand, is a more generic approach that can be applied across the data tables. So let's see what is Tapas. Tapas is built using BERT architecture, which is bidirectional encoder representation for transformers. So it basically, while embedding the tokens, considers both tokens that appear before it and also after it. So that in the query, the relationship which are occurring before and after are considered together. And then it converts the natural language question and also the input table into token embeddings, which are flattened into one single layer. Let's take one representational table which has only two columns, column 1 and 2, and cells as 0, 1, 2, 3. So now let's see how it gets converted into one flattened layer. So here, as I said, the question and the table are combined into one layer, and the query is represented by the keyword CLS followed by the query with n number of tokens. Then you have a separator which says like the query is ending there and whatever comes after that is the input table data. And in the example you see column 1 and column 2 with row values as 0, 1, 2, 3. So in the embeddings also you see like column 1, column 2 followed by the values 0, 1, 2, 3. Since we are losing the index related information in the token embeddings, We also need more positional embeddings, which will help us understand the indexes of the input table and what is a query more easily. So here, as we saw, the first part where we are highlighting it represents your question, and whatever comes after that is your data. Positional embeddings is used for in setting the index. So the second row, if you see, it is an index actually. So it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, sequenced until the last token. So it is like a index column. Segmented embeddings is used for separating your query and the input data. So for a query, your segment embeddings will have value as 0, and for data it will have value as 1. And then you have column embeddings. For column embeddings, again, your query will have the value as 0, and whichever value you had as column 1, it will have value as 1, and for column 2, it will be represented as 2. So you can see for name, call, and 1, you have the value as 1, then you have for 0 as 1, and for 2 as 1. Similarly, like if you see column 2, then values 1 and 2, you can see that value is 2. And row embedding is similar to the column embedding. Only thing is it indexes the rows instead of column. So for questions, again, you can see it is 0, and for first row it is 1, and for second row it is 2. Finally, we have ramp embeddings. So rank is used for sorting. So it helps us compute faster by ranking the columns in an order. So whichever rows are ranked higher will have rank 1, and whichever is ranked lower will have rank 2. Next, we have two classification layers, which is for selecting either a cell or aggregation. So this is how tapas architecture works. So you have again embeddings, like you can see the classifier and separator tokens. So the first part represents a question, and the second part represents the flattened table. So you see tokens from T1 to Tn. So now the model has two functions. One is selecting the group of cells which are applicable for a question, and an aggregation function which it needs to predict whether it needs to make a count of the selected cells or sum of the selected cells or average. So if your question is like for a particular cell, then you also have one of the aggregation type as none. And in the example, we have given four functions, but in the practical scenario, there will be more aggregate functions. This is for representational purpose. So if the selection is none for aggregation, it means like the return value is a scalar where you're going to give the output of a cell. And if it is going to be an aggregation function, then it becomes count, sum, or average. And for each cell, you see a probability, right? So whichever cells has higher probability, they will be considered for calculation. And similarly for aggregation function also, you have a probability. So whichever probability matches the highest, based on the cells will be chosen, and accordingly the calculations will be performed. So if it is count, then you just count all the probabilities that you get, and if it is sum, then you multiply it with the value, then you get the aggregation. If it is average, again you see that from the sum that we calculated, we are taking the average, which becomes your output. So our model is going to decide which are the cells that needs to be computed, then what is the aggregation function that needs to be applied, and merges both of them to get the output. Next, let's see a quick demo of how Tapas actually works with the code walkthrough. And before getting in, we have added the link to the paper, Tapas paper, as well as the GitHub code and also the Jupyter Notebook link in the description of the video. So this is the Cornell University website where this paper is available for download. On the right side download section, you can see that the paper can be downloaded. So you can go through the paper using this URL. And this is the GitHub repo. So if you have all the required environment set up in your local system, You can clone the Tapas architecture from this link, and then you can try executing the code. And if you don't have the environment setup, the more easier way to try out Tapas is through Google Colab. So that link is given in the GitHub, and also we have added it in the description of the video. So in both ways you can reach it out. So one good thing about Colab is like you don't have to set up anything on your local system. You just have to open the Colab and execute it in your browser. So let's now see a step-by-step walkthrough of what is there in the code. So initially you saw the Google license, then we are cloning the code from the GitHub URL that you just saw. So then we do all the import statements that are required for running this code. And this code is where, for people unfamiliar with Google Cloud, so this command is used for getting the data from Google storage. So we are using a copy command and we are downloading the model, the pre-trained Tapas model. And since it's in a zip format, we use a unzip command to unzip it. So once you have the file ready, you are good to go. So then you have a import statement, then you have a checkpoint. So when the model trains, at each iteration, you have a checkpoint where it writes down the logs so that you can go back and see the metrics and if there are any issues. So finally, this is the prediction part. So you can see like we saw earlier, like the query is getting both the input table as well as the question. So whatever is highlighted is the table. So you can change even with the custom table. And next, what you see is the list of question. So again, you can change it and try it out for yourself. So here we are asking how many players, then we are asking score of two people, then we are asking who scored higher, right? So as you can see, Tapas is able to answer all three questions accurately. So if you want to explore the code, you just have to change the table in the prediction part or the questions that are coming up so that you can explore different ways and understand more about the Tapas framework. Now let us see how Tapas model performs with respect to other benchmark systems. So we are using three datasets, WikiSQL, WikiTQ, and SQA test results to compare the performance. So you can see on the table, like we have listed what are the dev and test accuracies for different models. And you can see that Tapas has either performed on par with the other benchmark models or 3 to 5 percentage better than the other benchmark models. So the limitations of Tapas model. So as we saw in the demo, we need to input both the table and the query to the model. So the input size of the table is dependent on the memory of the system where you run. So you will not be able to run tables of very big size, which is a limitation of Tapas model. The other limitation is the expressivity is limited to form of aggregation. So when you have a query which has multiple aggregation to be performed, Tapas model gives a little lower accuracy than expected. In spite of the limitations that Tapas has, it has performed as the state-of-the-art algorithm for querying the structured data using natural language compared to other benchmark models. Hope you enjoyed the video. Do subscribe to our channel and don't forget to click on the bell icon to receive notification on new videos. Thank you.